Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Bilal and this is Bilal Reads. And today I'm here to talk about a book that I feel like has been very much talked about in the booktube community, and that is The Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And so the first time I heard of this book was through booktube, and it was through Emma on Emma's Books. And the way she described it got me really intrigued in this book because it was the way she described it and what I read about it online on Amazon was that it was kind of set in this alternative world where these practitioners of magic in this universe have been banned from practicing magic, and then magic returns. And so that's what I was told about it. It seemed super interesting, so I picked it up. And so this video will be a review slash discussion on it. So let's get into it. It will probably have spoilers, and I will warn you before those come up. So let's get to it. Characters is told in 3 different points of views. The first one is Zili Abude. She's our main protagonist, and she is a magi in this universe. Those are the people who have magic. And in this world, there are 10 different types of magi with a different aspect of a supreme god. And our main character, magi of life and death, and she can basically control ghosts. She helps ghosts pass onto the world and stuff. And so that's one of our main characters. The other main character is Inan, and he's the prince of this universe, of the empire that this book is set in, of Orisha. He is our antagonist almost. His character arc was one of my favorites, which we'll get into. And our third main character, or point of view character in this book, is Inan's sister, and that is Amari. So those are our 3 characters, and this book was actually really good. One thing I didn't realize when I picked this up was that this is a trilogy. This is the first in what's to become a trilogy of books. And it's also dystopian almost in that regard. And I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate dystopian books. I'm just so sick and tired of them. I think they low-key ruined YA for a little bit. And so if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have read this book, I'm not gonna lie. But I was actually really surprised at how much I enjoyed reading this book. And I think this book managed to avoid a lot of the downfalls that I find that a lot of dystopian books have, if that makes sense. So the plot of this book is mainly that our main character, Zili, she visits the capital of the kingdom, which is Lagos. While there, she stumbles upon Amari, who's running away with this scroll, and the scroll, whoever touches it who's a magi gets their magic restored to them. And in this world, the magic connection between the gods and the people who practice magic has been severed by Amari's father, who's the true villain of the story. So Amari and Zili team up to bring magic back to this world, and they are pursued by Inan, who is Amari's brother, but he's also Zili's love interest. And I hate the star-crossed lovers trope, but that's a major aspect of this book, which I'll get into. And so that's basically the plot of this book. It follows their adventure into this universe. And this plot, it might seem kind of formulaic, but actually the way Tomi Adeyemi brought this world to life was really interesting. This book had excellent world building. Everything in it made sense. And one of the downfalls that I find in dystopian books is that there's just a villain, but he's just a villain. There's no real explanation into why he is the way he is. And I think that's one of the biggest downfalls for dystopian books, but this book manages to avoid that, because we learn that Inan, why he doesn't want magic to come into this world. It does make sense, because if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, the author gives all the characters reasons for why they believe their world is the best. And one thing I really liked about this book is that Inan, who starts off as just he's like a puppet, he wants to please his father, and he really transitions into his own character, which I think is super good, and to do it in one book and what's supposed to be a trilogy was actually really good. So I really did like the character development that all the characters had in this book, especially Inan. I think that was actually really well done on Tomi Adeyemi's part. The world building of this book is actually really good. And this world kind of reminded me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, just because of how it has all these aspects of different portions of life that people can master. Kind of like the 4 elements, except now it's 10 aspects of the same god. But the main problem I had with this book was the romance. And I say that because I feel like every dystopian trilogy always has some sort of love triangle, and like this book manages to avoid that, but it still has two different star-crossed love stories. So in this book, Zeely, this is spoilers, just telling you right now, spoilers. But Zeely and Anon are like, they have a love story, and then Amari and Zeely's older brother Tzain, who accompanies them on their adventure, also have a love story. I feel like that was the weakest portion of this book, because it was just kind of like opposites attract, and like we never really knew why they were really attracted to each other. Like I remember, like when I first read this book, like the very first time that Anon sees Zeely, he literally goes, like, he literally was like, I take one look at her and like I feel a connection between us. Like, it was just like written in such a way that I knew, I was like, they're gonna fuck by the end of the story, and they do, which to me was just very kind of like, it was happening, but I didn't really care for it. It was very much secondary in comparison to the plot, like whether they would bring magic back or not. I thought the plot was actually really well done. In that regard, it was very high stakes. Even I wasn't sure what would happen or what wouldn't happen. So I think that the romance really did like lower this book's rating, in my opinion, just because I feel like it should have been better developed. And then another spoilery aspect of this book that I kind of disliked is the idea that it ends on this cliffhanger. And so in the cliffhanger, like at the beginning of the book, we learn that Anon has magic. We don't know how, that's not really explained. And then this book ends with his sister Amari, like when they restore magic to the world. Plot spoiler, they restore magic to the world. But it ends with Amari waking up and like she has like magic. It's not really explained what magic she has. It literally ends with Zeely saying Amari wakes up and she has a streak of white. And that's how it ends, and I just wish the author had explained that idea of like why Amari and Anon have magic when they aren't a part of the magic people. They're not magi, because magi in this world have white hair and their hair is completely dark. I wish that was explained more, but that will probably be saved for the rest of the trilogy, which is fine, but I kind of wish that we would have gotten a complete story in this one. But other than those 2 points, this book was actually pretty well done. I would probably read the sequel if I remember when it comes out. This book was actually really good. I probably would recommend it to people. It was such an interesting world. The world building was actually really well done. So, once again, I'm Bilal. This is Bilal Reads. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please subscribe, comment your thoughts down below, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks.